just get Jacob and Jay and Davey to talk about it real quick, and then we will move on. And this is the new disease that's coming on, white lung syndrome. Looks like a playbook for 2024 election, perhaps. I'm going to play this. This is from Chinese news media. This is the way Chinese news media, controlled by the CCP, is playing out this new virus. That it's in 2 provinces now in China near Beijing. But just you can watch it. It is in Mandarin, but you can read the subtitles.
这美国啊，竟然再一次向我们投毒了。近日啊，首都机场的海关在进口快件当中啊，查获了一批瞒报的生物制品，这里边啊是一批引发呼吸道传染疾病的细菌和毒素，包括白喉毒素、百日咳毒素等生物制品，整整125瓶。那么两者的危害到底有多大呢？我们先来说说这个白喉病毒。白喉对人类的威胁是巨大的，是人类历史上最致命的传染病之一。那么这一批瞒报的生物制剂，如果是生物实验室使用的话，他们完全可以通过正常的渠道进行投递。可是他们没有通过正规渠道，却是从国外邮寄过来的，而且还采取了瞒报的方式，确实让人细思极恐啊！大家发现没有？这两种病毒和新冠病毒是比较类似的，一旦真的在我们国内流行起来，大家可能会按照新冠的方式来治疗，或者同时感染两种病毒，病情加重之后啊，后果不堪设想。这真的是帝国主义亡我之心不死啊！
The idea, of course, is they're blaming the U.S. for this new virus. Very similar to what happened with the last one, the COVID-19 one. And they're saying, well, the U.S. has these labs and they're bringing it to us like diphtheria. And now all these Chinese people are getting sick. Now in America, we have a warning. Pneumonia in children in Ohio, Massachusetts. It's called the white lung one. California hasn't reported anything. But nonetheless, you have biolabs, CCP biolabs found in Northern California here, illegal ones, uncovered recently. So yeah. I'll leave it up to you guys. Who wants to talk first? Mysterious pneumonia outbreak. Xi goes to San Francisco just a couple of months before this, or about a month before this, meets with Gavin Newsom, meets with Joe Biden. Now we have a new disease up in China, comes to the States. Now there's talks about a new COVID, new lockdowns, more vaccines. Coincidence? What do you guys think? Playbook? We're right in the midst of an election cycle. 2024 is around the corner. Jacob Prasch.
Let's look at it in the context of what happened the last time, which still has ramifications. Fauci lied about COVID. They bent over backwards to try to prevent the public from knowing that the United States government funded research in Wuhan. When people said it was a Chinese virus or a Wuhan virus, they were accused of racism and anti-Chinese racism. They always played a race card. They always played a race card. Okay. The pharmaceutical companies were indemnified by the taxpayers. They couldn't be sued. Scientific opinion of the highest caliber, such as Robert Malone or that French scientist who won the Nobel Prize from the Pasteur Institute, or even Yeadon from Pfizer. Michael Yeadon. They were suppressed in favor of Whoopi Goldberg telling people to get vaccinated. The people who invented mRNA technology, biogenetic engineering, were suppressed so people would instead listen to Whoopi Goldberg. This is what you had. Politicization, certainly of the World Health Organization, of the CDC in Atlanta, of the National Institute of Health, and of the FDA. That's what you had. It was all lies. Some people, like Senator Rand Paul, who was a physician himself, tried to call to accounts in the Senate, but the Biden administration was able to do what it did, all based on lies, and it tried to cover up the truth about Wuhan. Second thing we have to understand is this. The typical Chinese strategy to deflect blame away from the party. China's in economic trouble. oh, this is because of American embargoes of microchips, or it's because of what the West is doing, trying to sabotage our economy. The party never can be blamed for anything. You blame foreign interests for trying to subvert or sabotage the Chinese economy. Now they're going to do the same thing with the white lung syndrome. You have to blame somebody else instead of blaming the party. Blaming foreign interests, particularly the United States and Japan, particularly United States and Japan, you blame foreign interests in order to protect the party. It's not our fault. Our country's being attacked by these foreigners. When in fact, it is the policies of the party that are largely responsible for these things. You have to deflect blame. That is simply the game that's played. Now you wonder how people can be so stupid as to believe the party. Well, they control the media. I'd like to propose a question. You have a former school teacher who speaks with bad grammar, who's now the mayor of Chicago. And he accused Republicans this week, of trying to reverse or not accept the consequences of the Civil War. He was too stupid to know that the Republican Party was the party founded on the premise of abolition, that it was the abolitionist party, and that Abraham Lincoln was a Republican and an abolitionist. Not only is he a moron, he assumes everybody else is a moron. And most of the people in Chicago are morons because they vote for him. Well, China is like that to the power of 10. China is like that to the power of 10. Well, somebody can come out, an independent media, and say that the mayor of Chicago, Johnson, is a moron, which he is. He's a man of obviously subhuman intelligence, apparently, to say what he said about the Civil War. Too stupid to know that Lincoln and the Republicans were the abolitionists and the Democrats were party of slavery. Too stupid to know it. In China, nobody can respond. There's no media inside China.
That's right.
That can criticize the party line or challenge what you hear in the media that's controlled by the government. They control the internet. I was in China once, they shut down the internet. Now, there were Christians who knew how to get links through Hong Kong so I could get email and things like this. There was a cyber underground inside China that they worked out through Hong Kong. But everybody else, there was a party conference going on, and all this corruption was being exposed in Beijing. And the Chinese party and government closed down the internet. There's nobody going to tell the Chinese people any alternative. Any alternative. You might get some of an alternative in Hong Kong or Macau, or obviously in Taipei, in Taiwan. But in China itself, there's no alternative media. There's nobody who can challenge the propaganda. Their basic way is to blame foreigners for anything that happens internally that they are responsible for. It doesn't matter if it's the shadow banking crisis. It doesn't matter if it's the property bust. It doesn't matter if it's deflation. It doesn't matter what it is. And it doesn't matter if it's COVID or white lung syndrome. It's the fault of America and Japan. That is their standard response. That is how they operate. And there's no media in China and no social media going to challenge it.
No, that's very good. Go ahead, Jay.
So going back to the report that we just watched, not many people know this, but in Chinese and Japanese, each character has double or triple or sometimes 4 meanings. So just for Moriel, I'm just going to translate that news that we just watched, that newscast from China. But I'm going to give you what it actually was saying. Okay, first of all, our great leader has just visited San Francisco, and his many pets relieved themselves on your streets. And we found that our investment in the Biden family has not been giving us adequate returns. Therefore, we want you to know that even though Gavin Newsom was trying very hard to court our leader, we feel that it was insufficient for us to continue the charade that we are friends. Therefore, now we have to villainize you.
And
That
very
that
good translation.
that very good translation.
Yeah. I should just bring Jay and have him listen to Xi Jinping all day, and then he can tell me exactly what he meant, because that's really what's at stake, isn't it? But Jay, do you find it coincidental? He comes, he sees, he conquers, he goes back, then this abruptly comes up. Now you got an election cycle just about to happen, because we've been in an election cycle, but really things happen in 2024. Coincidental to you?
Not at all. Everything, you have to understand that the way that Chinese do things, nothing is a coincidence. Everything is highly orchestrated when it comes to government level. They've looked at it from all angles as far as planning. And when they roll it out, it's almost like rolling out a actual play or production.
That's
Everyone
right.
has to posture.
Everything is choreographed.
Yes.
Everything.
So these videos, Jay, that we've seen, people at the bus stop dropping, kids not going to school. What is it? 7,000 go to the hospitals in Beijing, 13,000 in Taipei, and they're calling it white lung syndrome. Theatrics, kabuki theater.
It could be, or there could be that could be footage from when, maybe 2019, 2020. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Now people see that and they freak out. Massachusetts, Ohio, soon to be probably other states. The UK is saying that they have some cases. So where's it all go, in your opinion?
It goes to the old saying, you should trust but verify. It's that simple. They're obviously gonna try to weaponize the people's propensity to overthink illness like COVID-19, airborne, white lung syndrome, whatever it is. And they're going to try to suppress votes. And they're going to, we need to go back to mail-in ballots. It's the only way to keep people safe.
Just in time, December 2019. Sounds vaguely familiar, Davey. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'll come back to that just while I'm on the thought that Jay had. It's kind of like, who did Xi meet with when he was in the States? He met with Newsom. He met with Biden. Look, the Democrats are desperate. Then they know there's no way they're going to win an honest and open election next year. So they've got to come up with some skullduggery or corruption. What better way than to have another pandemic? But this is exactly what we saw happen in 2019. Both you and I, we were over in the UK with Jacob for a conference there when we were first getting the reports of some mysterious illness in China. It wasn't much longer. In March we were all getting locked down, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, all that sort of stuff. As Paul said in the chat, it's kind of like, does this mean we have to stock up on toilet paper again? And this was right before the 2020 election. Now we're seeing the same thing, same time of year, November. You've just been here. We're getting reports of some, white lung syndrome this time. It's kind of like, that sounds a little bit more frightening. So it's the same playbook. You think they'd be a little bit more inventive and that kind of thing, a little bit more creative, come up with something different. I do think it's going to be a lot more brutal this time. I think it'll be a way they may actually try to stop a 2024 election. Either way, they know they're desperate. They've got to hang on to it.